Hey, everybody. So good to see you guys. Hope everybody's doing well. I don't typically go live on Thursday, but Rebel was busy doing something. So I said, you know what? I'll just go live instead. Hold on just a second, guys. Let me fix this. So I was like, well, you know what? I'll just do it. All right. So let me go in here and say hello to everybody. Hello, Miss Tammy. Good to see you, honey. Hope you're doing well. Hello, hippie grandma. Good to see you. Hope you're doing good. Single mom true crime. Welcome. Good to see you. I hope you're doing good, honey. What's up, Ghost Devil? Good to see you, brother. Hello, Evie. Good to see you, honey. Hope you're doing good. Casper Friendly. Good to see you. Hope you're doing good, honey. Hello, Rocket Queen. Good to see you, love. I hope you're doing well. Thank you guys so much for being in here. Make sure y'all hit that. Oh, good. Well, message me and let me know, Rocket. Please. I've been praying hard. Been praying so hard. So let me know, honey. Let me know. Definitely let me know, sweetheart. All right. So make sure you guys hit that like, share, and subscribe if y'all haven't done so already. Thank you guys so much for being in here. We are going to do things a little bit different because I'm not used to doing Thursday nights. So, but it's okay. We're not going to do no panel. I don't reckon. I don't know yet. But anyway, so I figured it might be something different, but it still pertains to mental health. But before I go over this, I'm going to let you guys know what we're talking about tonight, like I always do. All right, give me just a second. It says failing to help mentally ill in jail. Mental health support and true crime, because this is considered, in a way, a true crime because it's about people that are incarcerated and their mental health. Hello, Mama P.I. Good to see you, honey. Hope you're doing well. This is what we're going to talk about tonight. We're going to talk about a little bit extra, but this was the main story that I come across. And I was like, I was going to let Rebel talk about it if we went live tonight, but he's like, he's going to do something or whatever. And so I said, well, screw it. I'll talk about it. It says tonight we're going to be talking about 22 counties sued DSHS, which is Department of Human Services or something like that, for failing to help severely mental ill defendants when charges are dropped. This is so sad. These people need help too. What are your thoughts? So I thought, well, why not? It's mental health related, so we can bring awareness and support to it. And it is a little bit something different than we normally talk about, but they need, they're human too. They need help too. All right, but before we get started, I have introduced you guys. I haven't played a song for him in a while, but Joe Nestor. I'm trying to play these newer songs for you guys. Joe Nestor came out with a new song today. If y'all haven't checked him out, please do so. He's got like 30,000 subscribers or something, and he's a really good musician, real good. And so go check him out. He's really good. But he came out with a song today. And we were supposed to meet him at the BFW when all them concerts were happening like 5 years ago. But he got sick or had a death in the family or something like that. So I just kind of follow him on YouTube. So he came out with a new song today. It's a really good song, really good song. So I wanted to share it with you guys. There's probably 2 songs that I'll play for him, and then we will start on the story. Since it's not my typical live to go night, I just figured, well, might as well have a little music and then get into the story. So it's just a little bit different, but it'll be all right. All right. So I'm probably going to have to play it on this side because I see my internet in the corner of my StreamYard is going in and out, in and out. So y'all just have to let me know if y'all can hear it okay on this end. So let me turn this off for just a second. And I want you guys to hear this because it's a really good song. Really good song. Hold on just a second, guys. Let's see. It was just released an hour ago, 1 hour ago. So this is brand spanking new, brand spanking new. It's a beautiful song. Pause it. And y'all let me know if y'all can hear it, okay? Okay, Mama Pia. Actually, I would rather share it. I'm going to try my best to share it, and if it starts bogging down, then I'll play it the other way. But I want you guys to see it too, because it's a pretty good video. All right, so that way y'all can see it's Joe Nestor. I don't know if y'all can see it or not. Let's see. Yeah, that doesn't make it any better. Let's see. And let me try to make the settings down so maybe it won't. Okay, maybe it won't bog down on me. All right. All right, let me know if y'all can hear it by putting a 1 in chat, okay?
All my life, I've been battling with my demons day and night. And I can't deny my soul is tired. So fill me with your fire until I feel it burning bright. And all of the darkness turns to light. I've been running for years trying to hide from my trauma. I never got away and now I'm accustomed to drama. Diving to the bottom of a bottle, searching for love. Never found it there but found a way to replace it with drugs. Now I've been too deep and I can't swim. And I swear these demons are not my friends. They're drowning me in my sins. So tell me where this ends and where do you begin? 'Cause Lord, I'm lost again. So take me as I am. All my life, I've been battling with my demons day and night. And I can't deny my soul is tired. So fill me with your fire till I feel it burning bright. And all of the darkness turns to light. I've been fishing, searching for something different, trying to find my way, but notice something's been missing. I've been lacking the drive, I've been lacking ambition. So Lord, if you're the key, then go ahead and turn the ignition. 'Cause I'm in too deep and I can't swim. And I swear these demons are not my friends. They're drowning me in my sins. So tell me where this ends and where do you begin? 'Cause Lord, I'm lost again. So take me by my hand. All my life, I've been battling with my demons day and night. And I can't deny my soul is tired. So fill me with your fire till I feel it burning bright. And all of the darkness turns to light.
Is that not a beautiful song? I think it's such a pretty song. All right. And then he has one more, and then we will get to the story. I just figured it was something different, guys. Let's see. I haven't heard this one, so I don't know if it's any good or not, but we're getting ready to hear it together. So hold on just a second. I know it's a beautiful song. A lot of people fight with their own demons. I thought it was a beautiful song. But if y'all haven't checked him out, it's Joe Nester, Joe Nestor. It's really good. All right. And this one's a beautiful song too. What I heard of it.
I can feel it in my soul. I can feel it in my bones. Something is different and I don't want to let it go. I've been waiting for so long. I never thought the day would come. But then you whispered to my soul, you are not alone. Lord, come into the broken hearted. Lord, come and finish what you started. Now wait for you. Oh, I wait for you. Find your way into the conversation. Tell me be still and I'll be patient. Now wait for you. Now wait for you. Now wait for you. For you. No matter what they say, it doesn't matter what they do. 'Cause nothing will be the same when you finally find the truth. I ain't worried about a hurricane or every time a storm blows through. 'Cause who's worried about a little rain when your house is waterproof? Lord, come into the broken hearted. Lord, come and finish what you started. Now wait for you. Oh, I wait for you. Find your way into the conversation. Tell me be still and I'll be patient. Now wait for you. Even when the ocean dries and my faith runs low, I will lift you high, 'cause you're the anchor to my soul. It's time to fight. I will fight on my knees. I will lay down my life just like you did for me. Yeah. So Lord, come into the broken hearted. Lord, come and finish what you started. And I wait for you. Oh, I wait for you. Find your way into the conversation. Tell me be still and I'll be patient. Now wait for you. Oh, I wait for you.
Is those not beautiful songs? Like I said, y'all need to go check him out. Really, seriously, awesome. He's got some awesome music, and his songs are very like meaningful. Like you could feel it. Like he does it, and then I've come across Netflix. He also does it. Citizen Soldier does it. I just like the meaningful songs. You know, you could feel their feeling behind it. They're beautiful songs. All right, I just figured, why not lift everybody's spirits a little bit with a little bit of music? Now I know a whole lot of people doesn't know him, so I like to, if I can come across any new artists, to try to give them a little bit of support. Oh, I'm sorry, single mom. I'm sorry, darling. Yeah, it was a beautiful song. All right. Hello, Nani. Good to see you, honey. Hope you're doing well, sweetheart. All right. So let's get to what we're talking about tonight. You're welcome. I just thought they were great. That one was as brand new when it just came out, like I said, a couple hours ago, like maybe an hour, a couple hours ago. It's very, very recent. And then the other one came out 4 months ago, so it's still fairly recent too. All right, so this is the this is what I actually sent Rebel But I just told him, I said, well, I'll just talk about it because he was doing something with the youngins or something. So I said, well, you know what? That's fine because I'll just talk about it on my channel. So it's true. It is true crime related in a way, but it's also mental health related. I don't really talk about true crime, but I just thought this was very important as well. And we haven't talked about inmates with mental health in quite a while. I don't think we've ever talked about them, but if we have, it's been a while. So I thought this was very useful information. All right. This is from king5.com. I guess it's the news center. It says 22 countries sue DSHS for failing to help severely mentally ill defendants when charges are dropped. Says the counties accuse DSHS of violating state law by refusing to treat severely mental ill patients who no longer face criminal charges. All right, so I'm going to play this video. It's like a couple minutes long, but and then we'll go over the story. And it was dated for August 23rd, so it just popped up in my feed yesterday. Well, I mean, like it came in today, but it was dated for yesterday. So I'm going to play this clip. It shouldn't. It's just a couple minutes. Hopefully, it don't strike me or nothing. I don't think that it would. But y'all let me know if y'all can hear this, okay?
As many as 200 people suffering from mental illness accused of committing crimes could be set free. The potential move just got the state of Washington sued by counties all across the state.
22 counties, the largest in the state, signed onto the lawsuit filed this morning against the state's Department of Social and Health Services. Officials tell King 5's Drew Mickelson they are suing on behalf of those who need help and also, Drew, over public safety concerns.
Yes, Stephen, Joyce, county officials we spoke with today say they are suing because these folks not only need this treatment, state law requires it. If they don't get it, they could commit more crimes. That is the fear. We're talking about people who have been arrested and criminally charged, but whose charges are dropped because the court determines that they're not competent to stand trial. Traditionally, those folks have gone to state facilities to get help. But officials from counties across the state say the state is no longer willing to treat those people, instead focusing on those who are still facing criminal charges. The lawsuit claims as many as 200 people could be released from facilities next month, and that worries the prosecutor here in Thurston County.
I think it is a community safety issue because I do think that what we're doing is basically turning people out who are experiencing some severe mental illness back out on the street without any resources, without any support.
Governor Jay Inslee's press secretary, Mike Falk, says the state is following guidelines from a federal court ruling.
Let me pause it for a second. It says we reject any notion that the state is not committed to meeting its obligations. We have taken actions necessary to comply with the court's orders, and those multi-pronged efforts continue in the face of significant challenge, which is Mike Falk, press secretary, Governor Jay Inslee. Just in case it bounced off, I wanted to read it to you guys. That's crazy. This is absolutely just terrible. It's terrible, guys. All right, let's finish. Sorry.
Adding, quote, we reject any notion that the state is not committed to meeting its obligations. We
I
have taken
apologize. I
actions
didn't know that they
necessary
was going to
to
go over
comply
it.
with
My
the
bad.
court's orders, and those multi-pronged efforts continue in the face of significant challenges. Those county officials from 22 counties who filed the suit hope to go before a judge next month. Live in Olympia, Drew Mickelson, King 5 News.
Drew, thank you. So how did we get here with 22 counties now filing an unprecedented lawsuit against the state?
King 5 investigator Susanna Frame has covered this issue for more than a year and joins us now with your insight to this, Susanna.
Joyce and Steve, you know, the state of Washington has been in hot water over this issue with a federal judge for nearly 10 years. It's about DSHS's failure to follow federal court orders, Drew mentioned that, to get mentally ill defendants out of jail quickly and get them at a state hospital for treatment. That's led to a federal judge fining DSHS about $200 million so far for leaving mentally ill defendants languishing in jails with no trial and no treatment. So that is the root of the problem here. DSHS is really between a rock and a hard place. They've got this federal law.
That picture right there is absolutely just heartbreaking, guys. I mean, look at that. I mean, they're in, I guess that's a, because I don't know a whole lot about it, but I guess that's a confined, or whatever it's called, where it's just one room or whatever. Y'all know what I'm talking about. I think it's solitary or whatever it's called. And look at all them trays. Look at all them food trays. They're just piled up around his or hers bed. That's absolutely heartbreaking just to see that. I don't know why they would think that's okay. I mean, that right there shows that they're not eating, and I mean, and not taking care of themselves. It's heartbreaking. It truly is. I had to pause that for a minute. I wanted you guys to see. Yeah, that's what it said. 10 years, honey. That's exactly what it said. This is absolutely heartbreaking, guys. Just because, in my opinion, just because that they're serving their time and they did something, wrong, you shouldn't treat them any different. They're still human beings. And I mean, that right there is absolutely, that's just so sad. Just looking at that. So sad. It's right beside their bed and it doesn't look like they've ate any of it. That's absolutely horrific. It's sad. It's heartbreaking. So pitiful.
Lawsuit mandating that they have to get people still charged with crimes help first, get them the beds first. And now the counties are saying, no, and filing legal action to say we need help with the people whose charges have been dropped before they're, released out into their communities without any treatment. And, it's just one more fallout from our state's mental health crisis, when we talk about people who have criminal charges charged against them.
Love you, Rocket
with
Queen,
mental
honey.
illness, they are victims.
Don't work
as
too
well.
hard, girl.
Yeah, they need help, and it's help the state and the counties struggling to
and
deliver.
that federal judge has said, we get it. The need has gone up, but she has ruled that DSHS should have gotten its act together many years ago, and that they should have done a better job of planning, and that's what got us here.
All right, we'll keep following it. Thanks.
Hey there, and welcome to Evening.
Sorry
We
about
are
that.
in Seattle's
I watched
Madison
it.
Valley.
Okay, there we go. Is that not absolutely sad? That's heartbreaking. I mean, truly. Let me close out the video and then we'll go over what it said. But I mean, it's heartbreaking. 10 years. And DSHS, which I think is Department of Human Services or something like that. Health and Human Services or something like that, which we're getting ready to find out. And let this go on. Really? That's heartbreaking. It's crazy. All right. Okay, it says Pierce County, Washington. I'm going to try my best. I know it's so fine print, guys. I apologize. I don't know if that would make it. I don't know if that would make a hill of beans or not. Let me try to make it bigger because it's so daggone small. I don't know. That's about as good as I'm going to get it, guys. So I'm going to try. It says Pierce County, Washington, prosecutors from 22 Washington state counties have filed a lawsuit against the Department of Social and Health Services. That's what DSH is. Over the agency's public policy decision to stop evaluating and treating mentally ill criminal defendants who have had their charges dropped because they don't understand the charges against them. Charges are dropped against individuals when they are declared unfit to stand trial and DSHS fails to provide services or restore their compensity. I can't even say that word. Competency. Says as the King 5 investigators have reported in their series, Mentally Ill Waiting in Jail, wait times for mentally ill defendants to access treatment to understand their charges reached all-time highs over the last 2 years. Currently, defendants are waiting approximately 7 months. Oh my gosh. 7 months in jail to access a bed at Western Salem State Hospital. State law and federal court orders call for a wait time of no longer than 7 days. The suit filed in Pierce County Superior Court hopes to stop the department's decision to stop providing initial evaluation and subsequent treatment for a rising number of patients in need of behavioral health support when exiting the criminal legal system. I have no idea, Tammy. It's heartbreaking. Hello, Rebel. It says the state is still accepting defendants for treatment who have active criminal cases against them. Representatives from the counties said denying access for people whose charges have been dropped is a violation of state law, plus an untenable strain on country resources and puts public safety at risk. When charges are dropped against a defendant and the state won't offer mental health treatment at a psychiatric facility such as Western State Hospital in Pierce County, oftentimes the only resource is to return the former defendant to the community, which could be it could be dangerous for the community and for the person getting out of jail if their head's not right. Hello, Tiny Treasure. It's so good to see you, sweetheart. I hope you're doing well, darling. It says prosecutors involved in the lawsuit say that the state change in policies put public safety at risk. There's no doubt that the agency's failure to act will impact public safety and further strain local police agencies and court. The current failures in our state system must be addressed. Otherwise, more people may be harmed and many vulnerable defendants will be denied the mental health services they so critically need, said King County Prosecutor Lisa Mannion. I do think that what we're doing is basically turning people out who are experiencing some severe mental illness back onto the street without any resources, without any support, says Thurston County Prosecutor John Tunham. A motion for a preliminary injunction was also filed to compel DSHS to comply with court orders as well as state law. Despite court orders and state laws requiring them to do so, DSHS has asserted that it is no longer obligated to either evaluate or treat patients whose criminal charges are dismissed, citing a federal judge's orders in a separate case. The release states. I can't even talk. To date, the agency has repeatedly argued that it will not follow what appear to be clear statutory and court-ordered legal requirements, leaving hundreds of individuals across the state to lose their chance for mental health treatment that might break the cycle of reoffense. A federal lawsuit initially filed in 2014 has put pressure on DSHS for nearly a decade to better and more quickly serve mentally ill defendants waiting in jail for services to get them competent to stand trial. The lawsuit, known as True Blood, calls for the state to prioritize beds for people still facing charges over people no longer in the criminal system. The federal judge in the True Blood case found Washington State in contempt in July and ordered it to pay more than $100 million in fines for failing to provide timely psychiatric services to mentally ill people who are forced to wait in jails for weeks or months. In her order, U.S. District Judge Marcia Peachman said DSHS has been violating the constitutional rights of these people since 2015 due to a lack of foresight, creativity, planning, and timely response to a crisis of its own making. Instead of providing more space in its psychiatric hospitals, the state closed wards, she said. The court is unpersuaded that DSHS adequately planned for and took reasonable measures to address the bed shortage, Peachman said. A spokesperson for the governor's office said the state has taken action necessarily to comply with the judge's orders. These are challenging issues, but we reject any notion that the state is not committed to meeting its obligations under the True Blood order. Mike Falk, a spokesperson for Governor Jay Inslee's office, wrote in an email, "While we respect all judicial decisions by ordering DSHS not to admit these patients into state hospitals, a federal court has substantially impaired our ability to treat and care for patients such as these." Hello, Mama Digger. Good to see you, honey. Hope you're doing well. Fox said that the state has invested $2 billion in expanding capacity for competency services since 2015. Most recently, DSHS purchased the former Cascade Behavioral Health Facility in Tukwila, which closed in June. Falk also pointed out that local governments and courts are ordering significantly more people to competency services, and it takes time to create and staff the facilities needed to meet the demand. Referrals increased 40% from 2021 to 2022 to 8,596 people, which is about triple the number of referrals a decade ago, according to Falk. In a statement at DSHS spokesperson spoke out against the lawsuit and defended the agency's care of the complex patients. The new about of the litigation brought forward today by the counties is in direct conflict with the federal court orders. A DSHS spokesperson said in a statement, the challenge of tackling this multi-tiered problem does not become easier when countries demand the state and superior court ignore a federal court order. The coalition of counties includes all the following: Ashton, Qualim, Colitz, Douglas, Grant, Gray Harbor, Island, Jefferson, King, Kitsap, Clixtat, Lewis, Lincoln, Pacific, Pierce, Shattuck, Skagmania, Snohomish, Spokane, Thurston, Whatcom, and Yamaka counties. I'm probably saying those wrong, guys. I'm just trying. The coalition says the case could be heard in Pierce County as early as September the 8th. And it says the Associated Press contribute to this report. That's absolutely horrible, guys. That's absolutely horrible. That and like I said, I have a couple more websites, but just hearing that, absolutely. I mean, like, okay, that's in Washington State. Just imagine everywhere else in the U.S. This is absolutely horrific. It's heartbreaking. To hear this, it's absolutely heartbreaking. All right, let's see. All right, and here's some more info. It says proving mental health for inmates. Maybe you guys can see that a little bit better. I'm not for sure. Hold on a minute, guys. Say hi. Say hi. I go to sleep. I love you.
Adios, amigos.
Okay. Like I said, we're going to go over a little bit more pertaining to what we just covered, but that was the main story, which I think is absolutely, it's heartbreaking, guys. It really is. This one is from www.apa.org/mental health inmates. All right. So this one's American Psychological Association, improving mental health for inmates. This was dated in 2019. So it's not massively old, but I'm sure they might have an updated version. Trust me, I tried to find it. I couldn't find anything. So I just went with it. I just went with it, guys. It says using a variety of new strategies, psychologists in correctional settings are transforming care for people in prisons and jails. And some of these have little stories with them, which I think is really interesting because you get to see kind of a viewpoint, a little bit of what people have dealt with. This is, I don't know, I apologize if I say his name incorrectly. It looks like Jamiesil Mitchell. I'm hoping I'm saying that correctly because his story is kind of sad. So hopefully I don't mean no disrespect. It says 24 had not been taking his schizophrenia medication when he was arrested for stealing a bottle of Mountain Dew, a Snickers bar, and a zebra cake from a 7-Eleven. After waiting more than a month in jail, he was found to be incompetent to stand trial due to mental illness in order to go to state hospital for competency restoration, a combination of psychiatric medication, mental health treatment, and education about the legal process. But no beds were available, and Mitchell's condition deteriorated as weeks turned into months while he waited in jail. He refused to eat and take medication. 4 months after his arrest. 4 months, guys. 4 months. Mitchell was found passed away in a cell covered in urines and feces. He had passed away of cardiac arrhythmia related to wasting syndrome, a disorder characterized by extreme weight loss. So if he would have got the help he needed, he might still be here. But he waited for 4 months. That's 120 days without any kind of help. That's absolutely terrible. That's absolutely terrible. Rest in peace, Jamesel Mitchell, if I'm saying your name right. I apologize. Cases like this are so tragic because they are preventable, says psychologists who advocate for more effective mental health services in correctional facilities. The unfortunate truth is that despite improvements over the past 30 years, the correctional system continues to struggle to meet the fast needs of the increasing number of inmates with mental health conditions, says Thomas Fagan, PhD professor emeritus at Nova Southeastern University in Florida, and a former administrator for the Federal Bureau of Prisons. About 37% of people in prison have a history of mental health problems, according to a 2017 report from the U.S. Department of Justice. More than 24% have been previously diagnosed with major depressive disorder, 17% with bipolar disorder, 13% with personality disorder, and 12% with post-traumatic stress disorder. The numbers are even higher for people in jail, where 1/3 have been previously diagnosed with major depressive disorder and almost 1/4 with bipolar disorder. We lock up people with mental health problems. When we should really be treating these people in the community, says Fagan. In the absence of that, prisons and jails become de facto treatment centers. As a result, psychologists, psychiatrists, and social workers have become essential mental health providers in correctional settings, and they can be a driven force for new programs in state and federal facilities, he says. Here's a look at some of the latest evidence-based approaches from psychologists. New thinking patterns. Thank you guys so much for being in here. Please hit that like, share, and subscribe if y'all haven't done so already. Says several psychologists are focused on keeping people with mental health problems out of correctional facilities. Hello, Ruth. Good to see you, brother. Hope you're doing well. Among them is Robert Morgan, PhD, as psychology professor at Texas Tech University in Lubbock, who is testing a new prison-based program that helps inmates learn to avoid behaviors that may lead to reincarceration after they were released. Morgan's program, Changing Lives and Changing Outcomes, seeks to address antisocial thinking and behavior patterns, which he calls criminalness, among inmates who have been diagnosed with mental illness. This program is novel because it diverges from the traditional belief that providing better mental health care alone will reduce the chances of criminal behavior patterns. Morgan contends that it's critical to combine mental health care and treatment for criminalness because inmates can learn not only how to cope with mental illness, but also practical life skills such as how to challenge antisocial thought patterns and to develop healthy connections with others. We learned through a series of studies that people with mental illness in the justice system are there in part because they present with criminal risk in similar ways to those who are not mentally ill. They interpret interpersonal situations differently than non-criminals, says Morgan. For example, this population is more likely to see someone bumping into them as asserting dominance rather than as an accident, Morgan explains. Morgan's ideas was born out of the years of clinical work in prisons where he witnessed the struggles people faced especially those with mental illness. In federal and state prisons at both minimum and super maximum levels of security, he saw that people with mental illness were at increased risk of victimization, psychiatric rehospitalization, and criminal recidivism. Probably saying that wrong, but I tried. They also had trouble adjusting to the institutional environment, and often their psychiatric systems, Lord have mercy, their psychiatric systems worsened. On the basis of that experience, Morgan wanted to help incarcerated people with mental illness stay out of prison once released. Nearly 80% of all released prisoners are arrested again within 6 years, according to the U.S. Bureau of Justice Statistics. In a pilot study, he tested his model of addressing both psychiatric and criminogenic needs with 47 male inmates who were in prison or a residential facility. The 6-month program included 155 hours of group and individual therapy sessions in which clinicians taught participants about healthy ways of dealing with anger and fear, how to interpret situations, medication adherence, and other skills. He found that participants experienced decreased depression, anxiety, hostility, paranoid ideation, psychoticism, and relative criminal thinking. That was in 2014. Says Morgan's team then tried the program with a larger sample of 169 participants in residential facilities. This time they wanted to determine how much of the program content the inmates retained. This is important for improving community outcomes, says Morgan. Simply reducing distress during the course of treatment is a positive step, but that can be very temporary. We wanted to assess if participants were able to learn and retain the information to be applied in their everyday lives. The team found that most participants increased and retained their knowledge, but those who had lower scores on the quizzes after each module were more likely to drop out of the program. In these cases, clinicians may need to provide more sessions to reduce the risk of dropout. The next step, Morgan says, will be to investigate whether the program reduces recidivism rates. The program has also been adapted for mentally ill inmates in solitary confinement who can't participate in group sessions. Participants receive written material and worksheets, and clinicians provide brief feedback during mental health rounds. The goal is to help them learn how to manage their mental illness and identify issues that put them at risk of continued segregation, says Morgan, who is evaluating the program. Influencing correctional policies. Oh my gosh, that's absolutely horrific, Tiny Treasure. That is so sad. That's so sad. It says, University of California, Santa Cruz psychologist Craig Haney, PhD, is exploring ways to reduce the number of people placed in isolation through interviews with hundreds of inmates in isolation, many of whom have mental illnesses. Haney has shown that people living in solitary confinement, defined as the absence of meaningful social contact and interaction with others, frequently experience depression, memory problems, difficulty concentrating, irritability, and anger. Studies have also shown that stress-related reactions are common, including decreased appetite, heart palpitations, and a sense of impending emotional breakdown, as well as sleepiness, heightened levels of anxiety, and paranoia. Over time, isolated inmates can also lose the ability to feel comfortable around people. Longing for the presence of other people and feeling that absence is painful. So these inmates adjusting by learning to cope in a world without other human beings, says Haney. Once they are released, the presence of other people can create anxiety. So paradoxically, many self-isolate. Through his hard work as an expert witness in numerous court cases, Haney has advocated for reforms that would lead to more humane conditions, including increased mental health care and decreased use of solitary confinement. In 2007, his testimony in a federal case against Alabama Department of Corrections helped to influence the court's decision to order the state to improve practices and conditions in its prison. In Georgia, Haney was invited to inspect a prison where he discovered that inmates in solitary confinement were only allowed outside their cells for 5 hours a week. Holy crap. That's not even an hour a day. And some were in darkened cells for months. Wow. He reported documenting the conditions helped inmates win a settlement in January that allows prisoners to spend 4 hours outside their cells each day and to eventually have access to educational classes. Says Haney recently turned his attention overseas to finding native correctional models that could inspire prison reform in the United States through the U.S.-Norway Correctional Culture Exchange Program sponsored by Criminal Justice and Health Consortium at University of California, San Francisco. Haney regularly travels with a contingent of U.S. correctional officials to Norwegian prisons, where the prisoners' routine mimic normal daily life as much as possible. Inmates have more freedom of movement, can access rehabilitation programs, and rarely experience solitary confinement. They also place a tremendous amount of emphasis on the interactions between correctional officers and prisoners, notes Haney. The officers are more like social workers who get to know the inmates rather than enforce some punishments. If a prisoner acts out, officers try to understand what led to the outburst and to address the problem or concern rather than punish the individual. The results of this positive prison culture in Norway are clear. Low turnover among staff and decreased recidivism because inmates are better prepared to reintegrate into society. Visiting prison officials from Alaska, Idaho, North Dakota, Oregon, and Rhode Island were also impressed that they have started adopting the Norwegian philosophy in their own prisons by increasing the rehabilitation program and training their staffs to relate different to inmates, says Haney. Says introducing trauma-informed care. Like Haney, Dave Stevens, PSYD, PsychD, believes the interactions between correctional staff and inmates significantly influence the mental health of prisoners, and he's improving conditions for inmates by teaching correctional employees about the brain's response to trauma. Through the National Institute of Corrections Training Center in Colorado, Stevens has trained more than 100 jail and prison wardens, mental health professional, caseworkers, and nurses on how to communicate with inmates in ways that minimize the chance of re-traumatizing individuals who have a history of trauma. He helps staff understand that many inmates, especially those with mental illnesses, have histories of physical or emotional abuse that lead to distrust and a sense of worthlessness. Stephen explains how to halt this cycle by being respectful to inmates and by teaching them what to expect when they encounter new situations. Correctional officers who conduct pat-down searches, for example, can explain beforehand what they will be doing to the inmate. This can reduce anxiety and the risk of re-traumatizing people who are expecting violation and abusive behavior. Stevens says he also encourages facilities to provide inmates information at the time of booking about what they might experience psychologically once they are incarcerated and steps to take if they're having symptoms of anxiety, depression, or other types of mental illness, which I think is excellent. Stevens sometimes encounters resistance from staff who believe it's not their job to make things easy for inmates, he says. But with some explanation and discussion, staff become more open and positive, especially because these strategies create a safer environment for both inmates and employees. Alternatives to hospitalization. Oh, see, that's so heartbreaking, Tammy. That's so heartbreaking. That's so sad. Says forensic psychologist W. Neil Goldsmith, PhD, is taking another tack to improve care for mentally ill offenders, community-based treatment rather than relying on overcrowded state hospitals to provide competency restoration services for people with mental health problems who have been accused of misdemeanor offenses or nonviolent felonies. Goldsmith has been advocating for outpatient competency restoration. Through such programs, offenders receive these services from private contract, outpatient treatment centers, or community mental health systems. To study the feasibility of using these programs in lieu of inpatient programs. Golan Smith, an assistant clinical professor of psychology at the University of Denver, collected data from 16 states that were using outpatient methods of restoring competency. He found that 70% of the participants in the outpatient programs achieved competency. I'm probably saying that wrong, guys. It's hard to pronounce. Restoration, compared with roughly 80% in state hospitals. The duration of treatment was also comparable between the two settings. That was in 2016. This early research shows that outpatient community restoration programs produce similar outcomes to inpatient programs at a fraction of the cost and without compromising public safety. In my opinion, I think they should get services for free. That's just my opinion. In this study, Golan Smith also found that allowing people to have competency restored in the community did not pose a risk to the public as measured by the number of negative incidents such as rearrest or violence, which were very low. Outpatient programs can also allow individuals to keep their housing and stay more connected to the community support systems, he says. Hello, Criminal Med. It's good to see you, honey. Hope you're doing well. Says identifying unalived patterns. Psychologists are also working with correctional systems to develop better ways to identify inmates who may be at risk for unaliving themselves. In 2014, the Bureau of Justice Statistics reported that unalive accounted for 7% of state prison deaths. Reducing these numbers have become a high priority, says Sharon Barboza, PhD, Vice President of Mental Health at MHM Centurion, a company that provides healthcare services to state correctional systems and large county jails. To better understand who is at risk of unaliving themselves, Barboza and her colleagues conducted a study of 925 state prison and jail inmates, comparing those who had attempted with those who had completed. The researchers found that those who had passed away by unalive tend to be male, older, more educated, married, or separated, divorced at the pre-trial stage, committed for a violent crime, not on the unalive precautions, and not previously on close observation. Although Barboza was not surprised by those characteristics, she was concerned that those who had died by unalive have not previously been identified as a risk. Inmates may not be inclined to share with staff that they are at risk of unalive because we respond by putting them alone in cells for close monitoring, which can be very isolating, Barboza says. In an effort to change that, she is working with the National Commission on Correctional Health Care and the American Foundation for Unalive Prevention on a national initiative to improve assessment, training, and interventions for inmates who might be at higher risk of unaliving themselves. The two organizations are partnering as a part of effort to reduce the nation's annual unalive rate for all people by 20% by 2025. So far, Barboza has participated in 3 unalive prevention summits where she leads the assessment group that is working to develop better unalive risk screening tools. We are seeing more completed unalive in both correctional and the general population naturally, and that is alarming, says Barboza. For her, each unalive is a reminder that finding ways to provide better mental health care to more than 2 million incarcerated people in the United States has the potential to improve and sometimes save thousands of lives each year. And so that's actually quite a bit of useful information, guys. And then let's see. And this one's the last page, guys. It says the mental health effects on being in prison. And I use this a lot of times for my information because I think it is very useful information. Verywellmind.com / mental health effects of prison. This was dated in 2022, so it's not massively old either. According to the Prison Policy Initiative, 10.6 million people go to jail and 600,000 people enter prison in the United States each year. Many justice-involved individuals have pre-existing mental health issues, and some individuals who were considered mentally healthy prior to their arrest develop mental health symptoms once they are in prison. Being in prison can take a serious toll on an individual's psychological well-being. New conditions often develop, and pre-existing conditions may worsen. Sadly, many involved individuals are released back into the community without ever receiving any type of treatment. Mental health concerns among incarcerated individuals. So according to the American Psychological Association, 64% of incarcerated individuals in jail, 54% of incarcerated individuals in state prison, and 45% of incarcerated individuals in federal prison report mental health concerns. That is a huge percentage, guys. Substance abuse is rampant among incarcerated individuals as well. Quite often, mental health issues and substance abuse issues occur alongside one another. Increased incarceration rates in the United States have disproportionately affected racial and ethnic minority populations. As of 2021, 38.5% of incarcerated individuals are Black and 30% are Hispanic. The American Psychological Association estimates that between 10% and 25% of incarcerated individuals have a serious mental illness, such as schizophrenia. In the general population, it's estimated that about 5% of individuals have a serious mental illness. Many other incarcerated individuals may experience depressive disorders, anxiety disorders, or PTSD. For some, these issues may be pre-existing conditions. For others, the issues may have started after their incarceration. Rebel, are you still in here? Rip's trying to talk to you. Rebel. Quite often, disorders go unrecognized by people in prison and prison staff. The response of individuals with mental health issues to the prison system may simply seem like a normal reaction to the institutionalized setting. This assumption prevents any type of acknowledgement of the problem, letting people with mental health issues suffer in silence. Black individuals are more likely to be incarcerated before trial to fare worse in plea agreements that might have otherwise kept them out of prison, to receive death penalty, and to be arrested and charged with drug crimes. While some people feel that increasing the number of people behind bars keeps communities safer, the statistics don't necessarily show a decrease in crime. For example, in 2014, there were 10 times as many people in prison for drugs than there were 30 or 40 years ago, but the number of drug-related crimes hasn't decreased. The toll prison takes on psychological well-being. Incarceration takes a serious toll on mental health for several reasons. They're no longer considered productive members of society. People can experience a loss of purpose when they get locked up. Prisons are not obligated to pay their occupants a minimum wage for labor, and they can charge high fees for phone calls with families. I know that for a fact. Thus, it can be difficult for a justice-involved person to contribute to their family's financial or emotional needs. A perceived lack of purpose in life can take a serious toll on anyone's psychological well-being. Their identities get stripped. This is absolutely heartbreaking. When someone is incarcerated, they are no longer known for their profession, such as being a musician or a delivery driver, and they aren't known for their skills, talents, or knowledge. The loss of sense of self can be quite disorienting, confusing, and troublesome. They're separated from loved ones, which could be traumatizing in itself. They can no longer be with their friends and families. Missing their loved ones and not being part of their daily lives increases feelings of isolation and loneliness. Additionally, they can't be there for their loved ones, so they may worry about those they can't support, such as an elderly family member. They may also experience a lot of grief over missing out on a child's activity or not being able to be there for their partner. Physical environment adds to stress. Concrete walls, little natural light, and lack of overall stimulation can take a serious toll on mental health. People in prison have few ways to relieve stress. Excuse me, guys. And their sterile environment is likely to fuel boredom, which can be quite stressful in itself. Research shows the environment even takes a toll on the prison staff. Frequent staff shortages can mean individuals don't get out of their cells as often, which can add more stress to their daily lives. This can create a cycle of stress that is tough to break. Exposure to violence. Incarcerated individuals are often exposed to violence while behind bars. They may witness fights breaking out at meal times or during recreation times. They may also witness acts of violence between guards and incarcerated peers, or they may become victims of aggression. Research shows that exposure to violence while in prisons creates emotional distress. In addition, exposure to violence has an indirect impact on life outside of prison after they're released. Those who are exposed to greater acts of violence are more likely to have trouble settling back into the community. Solitary confinement. Whether individuals are placed in solitary confinement due to disciplinary issues or they're segregated because of safety issue, being locked up alone for 23 hours a day can take a serious toll on a person's well-being. For years, the American Civil Liberties Union, ACLU, and other organizations have sought to have solitary confinement banned and as a human rights violation, but the practice is still fairly common in the U.S. Researchers have found that the vast majority of individuals who are placed in solitary confinement have serious mental illness. These conditions may be why they exhibited behavior issues in the first place. Solitary confinement can exacerbate symptoms, but others are likely to develop mental health issues as a result of the extreme isolation. Studies show solitary confinement increases the risk of anxiety, insomnia, paranoia, aggression, and depression. Lack of treatment. Even when mental health concerns are known, disorders often go untreated. Most prisons lack the funds to offer adequate mental health treatment. Those who do offer services of some kind may be limited in the types of treatment they provide. Additionally, services in prison may not be all that effective. It's tough for individuals to open up to someone when they lack physical and psychological safety. Many incarcerated people may not have given proper medication either, even if they were taking medication to help with a condition at the time they were admitted to prison. A 2014 study published in the American Journal of Public Health found that 26% of inmates were diagnosed with mental health condition at some point during their lives. Only about 18% of them were taking medication for the condition when they became incarcerated. Of those who were taking medication, less than 50% were prescribed medication during their admission. Inmates with schizophrenia were more likely to receive medication as compared to those with other mental health conditions like depression. Although courts mandate adequate treatment for mental health care, treatment is usually reserved for diagnoses that are considered the most serious, which I think is bullshit, in my opinion. Medications are often expensive, and quite often in an effort to save costs, prescriptions are not made readily available. Specialized treatment is rarely available in prison, and generic groups or services may not be able to assist with specific conditions. Additionally, most prisons do not provide adequate access to treatment providers. So incarcerated individuals' conditions go unrecognized. Quite often, inmates are given simple screening questionnaires to complete at intake. They aren't assessed by a mental health professional at all and likely never come into contact with one throughout their prison time. It should be, Digger Duck. It should be, honey. Consequences of inadequate treatment. The consequences of inadequate mental health care contribute greatly to suffering of the affected individuals and their families. Untreated psychiatric conditions among the prison population even take a toll on society financially in the forms of taxpayers' money. Untreated psychiatric conditions may increase the risk of recidivism. Justice involved people who have mental health issues are 70% more likely to return to prison at least once. A 2020 study, this is 3 years ago, guys, looked at the rates of recidivism among individuals who were released from prison. Those who reported poor mental health in prison were more likely to recidivate than those who had average mental health during the sentence. The rates of recidivism were between 33% and 68% higher for people with poor and prison mental health than for their peers. State hospital closures. Since the 1970s, there has been a big push towards the institutionalization of individuals with mental health issues. On the surface, closing asylums and institutions that house people with severe psychiatric conditions seem like a good idea. Many of the institutions were understaffed and unable to give patients the individual treatments they needed. Closing the door to psychiatric hospitals and other long-term institutions, however, had serious consequences. The community mental health centers, intended to replace long-term institutions, quickly lost their government funding, leaving a gap in the social safety net. The lack of long-term treatment options contributed to a major increase in incarcerations. So rather than reside in a state-run hospital, many individuals with mental health issues now spend much of their time in jail. They're just suffering. That's absolutely uncalled for, in my opinion. That's just not right. According to research conducted by the Treatment Advocacy Center, the number of individuals with serious mental illness is now 10 times higher in jail than in the state psychiatric hospitals. 10 times, guys. A word from Verywell. This is the end of it. Anyone who's facing incarceration should consider revealing any pre-existing mental health conditions. Disclosing those issues may increase the likelihood of assessing treatment. It may increase the likelihood. It didn't say that it would. It said it may. But bigger chances are needed at the systematic and legal levels. Better access to mental health services overall may prevent crime. Treating people during incarceration and providing access to ongoing treatment after they're released may reduce recidivism rates. And make sure that was all of it, guys. And there's one more, guys. I thought I was done, but this one ain't massively long. Says the challenges of incarcerating mentally ill inmates. This was in 2015, but I still think this is useful information. The United States has 5% of the world's population, yet we have 25% of the world's prison population. Says the challenges of incarcerating mentally ill inmates. With 2.2 million individuals confirmed in our nation's jails and prisons, the percentage of incarcerated individuals with psychiatric or psychological, Lord have mercy, psychological or psychiatric disorders has been steadily increasing since the 1960s, which by most accounts stems mostly from the deinstitutionalization of state mental health system. Prison and jails have become a de facto state hospital responsible for confirming and caring for the mentally ill. There are more seriously and presently mentally ill individuals imprisoned in correctional institutions today than in all U.S. state hospitals combined. This requires a major paradigm shift in thinking, practice, and policy. Prisons were never intended nor designed to cope with a tremendous influx of individuals with significant degrees of mental illness. It says history of confining the mentally ill. A treatment advocacy center studies report that people with mental illness are routinely confined in prisons and jails from 1770 to 1820. This practice was later regarded as inhumane and problematic, and in response, mentally ill individuals were routinely confined in psychiatric hospitals up until 1970. Since 1970, the United States has returned to earlier practice of routine confining mental ill individuals in prisons and jails, which is once again regarded as inhumane and problematic. A 2013 Mother Jones article provided a simplistic yet informative timeline of caring for the mentally ill in the United States. For example, in 1773, the first patient was admitted to the public hospital for persons of insane and disordered minds in Williamsburg, Virginia. In 1955, the number of individuals confined in psychiatric facilities peaked at 560,000 patients. Today, fewer than 35,000 patients are in psychiatric hospitals, a number that continues to fall. A few years later, in 1962, Ken Kesey published One Flew Under the Cuckoo's Nest, an international bestseller, which was based largely on his experience working as a nurse in a psychiatric hospital during the 1950s. A year later, in 1963, President John F. Kennedy signed the Community Mental Health Act to provide federal funding for the construction of community-based preventive care and treatment facilities. However, it was not until 1965, with the passage of Medicaid, that the states were strongly persuaded to move patients out of state mental hospitals. The Medicaid program excluded coverage for people in institutions for mental diseases. The deinstitutionalization movement had begun to take center stage. As a direct result, state mental hospital populations went from 560,000 psychiatric patients in 1955 to 61,700 in 1996, a 90% decline. Good night, Evie. I love you, honey. Have a good night, sweetheart. Thank you so much for coming in here. Don't forget, tomorrow night is karaoke night, and you're always welcome, you and your son. Come back and sing with us. Says these patients were often released to the community without adequate support services, which led to many becoming entangled in the web of criminal justice system. This has led to our current predicament of a growing social problem that continues to plague our nation's prisons and jails. Rate of mental illness among inmates. According to a March 2015 study in the Urban Institute, an estimated 56% of state prisoners, 45% federal prisoners, and 64% of jail inmates have one or more psychological disorder. In 2014, the American Psychiatric Association reported that the most common mental illnesses among prisoners are depression, schizophrenia, and bipolar disorder. While these conditions are not necessarily correlated with criminality, the frequency and the intensity of these disorders are significantly higher with our nation's prisons. That suggests that orders may contribute, at least indirectly, let's see. Indirectly to criminality. In addition, a higher percentage of prisoners has personality disorders than the general population, particularly antisocial personality disorder, a diagnosis commonly associated with criminal behavior because it's characterized by a pattern of disregard for and violation of the rights of others. Lastly, prisoners are more likely to have been diagnosed with co-occurring disorders, which is defined as the presence of two or more disorders at the same time. For example, an individual may suffer from substance abuse or addiction as well as bipolar disorder. Co-occurring disorders as well would be expected tend to be more difficult to treat because the illnesses can interact with each other, and treatment strategies for the varying disorders may conflict, according to the National Institute of Drug Abuse. Lack of services to address mental illness. To reiterate, mental ill offenders comprise a significant portion of the nation's prison population, resulting in a number of challenges to prison administrators and correctional officers who lack formal training or education on how to interact, care for, and protect this particular population. Providing mental health, substance abuse, and medical treatment for these offenders is challenging, particularly when most prisons and jails are poorly equipped and appropriately deal with those with mental illnesses. Prisoners with mental illnesses are more likely than other prisoners to be held in solitary confinement, be financially exploited, and physically and essayed, commit unalived, or be intentionally self-destructive. A 2005 Washington Post article reported in New York, a man with schizophrenia spent 13 years of a 15-year prison in solitary confinement. In a Minnesota county jail, a man with schizophrenia poked out both of his eyes with a pencil in his cell. A study of 132 unalive attempts in a county jail in Washington found that 77% of them had a chronic psychiatric problem, compared to 15% among the rest of jail's population. To compound matters, there are growing evidence suggests that both the size of the population and seriousness of their psychological disorders are increasing. So how should we as corrections professionals respond? The best solution is for the United States to maintain an effective and efficient public mental health treatment system that reduces the number of mentally ill individuals who end up in prisons and jail. Moreover, in a comprehensive 2014 Treatment Advocacy Center study, the following recommendations were introduced. Here they are, guys. I know this is a lot of information, but I think this is very, very vital information, so I'm trying to go over as fast as I possibly can. Reform outdated or inadequate mental illness treatment laws and practices in the community to eliminate barriers to treatment for individuals too ill to recognize they need care, so they receive help before they are disordered. They commit acts resulting in their arrest, prosecution, and subsequent incarceration. Reform jail and prison treatment laws so inmates with mental illnesses can receive appropriate and necessary treatment just as inmates with other medical conditions do. Implement and promote additional diversion programs such as mental health courts. Use court-ordered outpatient treatment to provide the support that at-risk individuals need to live safely and successfully in the community. Encourage comprehensive cost studies to compare the true cost of housing individuals with serious mental illness in prisons and jails to costs of appropriately treating them in the community. Establish careful inmate intake screening to identify medication needs, unalive thoughts and identification, anger outbursts, self-destructive behaviors, and other risks associated with mental illness. Institute mandatory release planning to provide community support and foster recovery. It says that aforementioned recommendations fall under the general premise that mentally ill individuals would be better served in hospitals, not in prisons and jails. However, the public mental illness treatment system is essentially broken and in need of desperate repair that can only come from widespread reform. Until that occurs, our nation's correctional institutions will continue to be flooded with mentally ill individuals who will find themselves trapped within a criminal justice system that is quite easier to enter, but quite difficult to leave. It says about the author, it says Professor Michael Pichardo is the 27-year criminal justice veteran, highly experienced in working with criminal offenders in a variety of settings. Pichardo has lectured in tertiary education for the past 13 years, while also serving as an author, editor, and subject matter expert. He is currently pursuing a PhD in public safety criminal justice at Capella University School of Public Safety Leadership. That's what he covered. All right, guys. That was a lot of information. A lot of information. So what do y'all think about what I covered? I was trying to read y'all's comments too, but I didn't get a chance to. So, all right. Tiny Treasure, is that going to be your name, or you're going to change it back to your other name, honey? If that's going to be your name, then I'll do what I told you I was going to do. I just didn't want to make it that and then, it'd be something different. Hold on a minute, guys. Yeah. No, I'm leaving it on this one, but don't worry about it. You can hold off it next. Okay. I just wanted to make sure that it was still you, honey. If that's going to be your name. There we go. Okay, so let me try to read some of the comments. Yeah, I think it's just horrible. Oh my gosh, Tammy, that's awful. I hate to hear that, sweetheart. That is absolutely awful. So sorry. I'm so sorry, honey. Sorry, guys. I'm just kind of going over because I did a lot of reading, so I wanted to read it. I'm about to speak out. I never got justice for that mental crap. Reft. Oh, I'm sorry, brother. Let's see. Oh, that's truly messed up, Riff. That's really messed up about being 16. You were 16 years old. Wow, that's crazy. I'm sorry. Mental health injuries from mental health issues from head injuries I have covered, and it's kind of like traumatized, like PTSD type. I have covered it. I don't know where it's at. I mean, they'd be somewhere in my life. I can't remember exactly where it was at. Let me see if I can pull up what it was. Let's see, because I've done so many. So let me see. Mental health trauma. It was a long time ago. I do know that. But that way, if you wanted to go back and watch it, Tammy, honey. Let me see, guys. Because I know I did something about the like head trauma. So give me just a second and I will look. Give me just a second because I mean, if you wanted to go back and watch it, Miss Tammy. Let's see. Let's see, guys. I don't want to tell you wrong. I know. Yeah, I'm trying to find it too, so that way I could tell you because I know that I went over it one time. It's just been a while back. So I'm trying to, so that way you can go back and watch it, honey. What I've done so many, I've covered so much. So I know that I have. I just don't know when it was. Let's see. Let's see. I know I have. Hold on, wait a minute. I think it's let me see. I might have went over it. I apologize. Let's see. I'm a looking, honey. Sorry about that, guys. I'm just trying to find something for Miss Tammy. I think it was sweetheart, when I went over it was I'm trying to see. It was, I think it was when I did the in March, mental health brain injury awareness month. I think that's when I covered it. It was either that one or the one, there's two of them. There's one mental health brain injury awareness month, and then there's another one. It's brain injury awareness month. I have two different ones. One has a like green ribbon on it, and the other one has, let me see, says March is brain injury awareness month. There's two of them. Yeah, something definitely needs to be done. No doubt. Definitely needs to be done. Because that's absolutely horrific. And I hate to hear that. And I'm so sorry, honey. Yeah, there's two. I did them in March. I don't know if they'd be useful information, but you can always go back and watch. There's two. There's one that has a ribbon, a green ribbon. It talks about March being brain awareness, and there's two of them. So they're about 5 months ago, but they're in there. I don't know if that's pertaining to, but I'm pretty sure that I did cover like brain injury and mental health. So I think that's all. It's in one or the other. It might be in both. So that might just be some useful information for you, honey. And I just hope that, bless your heart, I just hope that she's okay. I just hope that she's okay. Yeah, you can get copies of those reports. You can actually get them for, I think they're free. I don't think they cost anything, especially when it's like you're the parent or something. I mean, granted, she might be an adult, but if she has a brain injury and she is her like power of attorney or something like that, she should be able to get them no problem. I had to take her to a concussion clinic. I don't know what that is. I don't either. I've never heard of concussion clinic. I feel very sad. I felt quit. Why didn't I thought even if there was 3 men and a woman? I'm so sorry, sweetie. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like if she has unfortunately like damages or anything like that, and she's not thinking clearly, and there should be some way somehow that you would be able to get that information, as her kind of like a guardian or something like that, where she's not incapable right now of thinking clearly for herself. You know what I mean? If that makes sense. But in my opinion, on these incarcerated individuals, they're people too. And they say that they've lost all their, all the freedom, all their, which I can understand, if you do the crime. And I just said if, because not everybody does the crime, but they still have to do the time, if that makes sense. But, I just think it's terrible how they treat people. And like we ran across it, like the police officer said, well, it's not their job to do that, when they're trying to make it better for the inmates so they don't have unalives and a lot of mental health issues and mental illnesses. So, it's awful. And then you have some cops that will go above and beyond to help you out. And then there are some cops who care less because it's just a paycheck. And those are not people, they're numbers. And that's absolutely heartbreaking, because even though they did something wrong or didn't do something wrong, because some people are wrongly accused that and wrongly charged, that they're not less of a human being just because they have to serve time in prison, jail, whatever. They're still human, and they shouldn't be treated like a piece of crap, in my opinion. So I just think it's terrible the way it's ran. And Rebel was on vacation for 6 months, and it is extremely expensive. It's all about making money. Let's just put it that way. It's all about making money. His phone calls, I had to get a house phone and put it in, and I think they were like $3 a phone call. But the cell phones were $14.99 for 14 minutes or 15 minutes. Yeah. I was like, I'll just get a house phone, because that's like $3 for 15 minutes instead of $15 for 15 minutes. It's crazy. They're making all kinds of money off people, knowing that their family is also suffering too without them. It's heartbreaking. It's terrible. It really is, truly. She owns her own house. She's smart money with money. It's a thing she thinks is real. Aw. She's probably, unfortunately, she's probably got, she probably suffers with PTSD, which what it seems like what she's been through is very extremely traumatic. And she definitely needs, in my opinion, she definitely needs to be seen, and to make sure that her head is okay, in my opinion. That's so sad. Nobody deserves to be treated like that. But yes, I just wanted to come in here for a little bit and talk about that. I thought it was very important, because not a whole lot of people talk about inmates and people incarcerated and how they're being treated, and it's nice to hear. It's not nice, but it's nice to hear some stories about what people have been through pertaining to that. And Rebel said, I don't even know where his comment is. I apologize. Give me just a second. Well, where is it? I know he put something in here. Give me just a second, guys. He said they violated them for a long time. And then he said they don't care about people with mental problems in jail. Trust me, I know. I saw it firsthand myself when I was in there. It's sad. It's truly sad. Again, call your local fiduciary office and explain the situation to them. Every state has different requirements for them to deem her unstable to make her own decision. If all states are covered by Title V laws that protects the rights of a person with a disability. You're welcome, Rift. I just figured, why not talk about them? Because that, a lot of times they fall through the cracks as well. And they're also human beings. They also suffer, and, we can lift them up. I mean, I know they might be incarcerated, but they're still individuals. They're still human, and they don't need to be treated like brushed off to the side, because their mental health also matters too. Thank you. This is the 5th time they've done this. She won't fight back because she doesn't want to hurt nobody. But she doesn't need to get hurt in the process, honey. She doesn't need to get hurt either. So sometimes you have to defend yourself to keep yourself safe. That's too many times. Five times, that's crazy. They need to go on and leave her alone. That's crazy. It's awful. It's absolutely sad, guys. Riv said, thank you for helping Becca. I'm an eyewitness of how prison affects a normal person. Sad. I'm so sorry, Tammy, that you're going through all that. That, like I said, there's good cops and then there's bad cops, and it seems like what you're doing it is not like you're trying to do good for her, but it seems like they don't want to help you. That's awful. That's awful. Exactly, Rift. Exactly. This is how it should be. If you steal someone's stuff, someone should steal your stuff. You ain't alive. Well, you know what happens if you touch a child. You should be touched. Everything else would work out. Exactly, Tiny Treasure. If she is pregnant, it's more. Yeah, she needs to be way more protected. Definitely that. Definitely. Absolutely. 100%. Because she's not just protecting herself, she's also protecting her baby. And that's so sad. Yeah, I just wanted to go over that for a little bit. I thought that was some really great, useful information. And just kind of go over a little bit, because this is not typically one of my lives anyway that I do on Thursday nights. It's normally me and Rebel, but he was doing something with the youngins. So I just said, well, I'll just go live. But make sure you guys hit the like, share, and subscribe. Thank you guys so much for being in here. Well, you're welcome, Riff. Thank you so much for being in here, brother. You have a good one. I hope your family's doing good too, and hopefully your wife hasn't hit you with a frying pan. But yeah, guys, it means so much to me. Thank you so much for coming. And I always say this before I go, you don't know what people are going through, so just be kind to one another and lift each other up. Be there for one another, support one another, be a positive difference in people's life in this evil world that we live in. Be a difference in somebody's life, And also just be careful with your words, because they can be easily forgiven and not forgotten. And to that person that I was stupid and did stupid things, I'm only human, and I apologize. and I love you, and I'm sorry. And she knows who she is. Thank you, Digger Duck. I love you, honey. Thank you guys so much. Y'all have a wonderful night, and I will see you guys tomorrow. Tomorrow is our karaoke night, and also we have the bonfire at 7 p.m. on White Trash Family, where we are doing the hair bands, your favorite hair band. So I'm hoping that y'all got in y'all's requests to hear them, because it starts at 7 p.m. tomorrow on Wash Trash Family. It's a bonfire night, and then after that it is karaoke tomorrow night, and then we have karaoke Saturday night, and then we have the little concert Saturday night. So we have a whole weekend planned. So I hope to see you guys there or here or whatever. And y'all have a wonderful night, y'all, or day, or whatever time zone you're in. Y'all have a good one. And I love you guys. Virtual hugs sent y'all's way. And I will see you guys tomorrow. Thank you guys so much for all the support. It means so much to me. It truly does. Oh, Rip, you better behave. But I love you guys. Thank you guys again. See ya. Be good. Love ya.